Welcome to episode 124. And today I want to talk about something that perhaps isn't discussed enough. And that's knowing when it's time to let a great employee go. And I don't mean firing someone. I mean those moments where you've done everything right. You've mentored, supported, promoted, and then the employee needs to take the next step in their career, which is actually somewhere else. And sometimes that is actually success. So I'd like to share a story with you today about a high performer that was working with one of our clients, and they really poured a lot into him, training, coaching, mentoring, stretch opportunities, and it worked. He stayed there for over 7 years, contributed massively to the business, and then took on a bigger role elsewhere. And that's one that, it's a role that they couldn't offer. And despite the initial disappointment and shock and how are we going to replace him, the management of that business were actually really proud of that moment. So let's explore today how you can extend someone with you by genuinely investing in them, why that's good for you as much as it's good for them, and how to let people go in a way that protects your culture but keeps your door open as well. So let me tell you a little bit more about this employee. The employee was really smart, ambitious, driven. Everybody that came across them was like, okay, that person is going places. So we knew that there wasn't a lot of benefit trying to lock him in. It was more about how do we support him to grow. So over time, he was promoted into different roles, sent on high value, so not necessarily expensive, but high value training courses, connected with mentors outside of the business, given opportunities to sit in strategic meetings, and actively helped shape his own development pathway. Now, of course, all of that is a lot of energy and effort and cost for the business. And he didn't stay forever, but he stayed longer than he otherwise would have. And, 7 years is a pretty good stint these days. So if you think about that, when he left, it wasn't to escape a horrible role that he wasn't enjoying. It was really to level up. And so when he left, the business was able to celebrate that with him because they didn't ignore his development. They didn't try and hold him back. They didn't just assume loyalty. And so if he'd left much earlier, then perhaps it would have been seen as a real disappointment, not just from the management, but from the other employees in the business. Whereas when he did leave, it was actually, yes, disappointing, but seen as a way of leaving with mutual respect and gratitude across the business and for other employees as well to see that. So, why does this approach work? Well, it's built on trust and value. It's not built on fear or control. I've often seen it in businesses where the person that's the highest performer gets all of, those jobs that no one else wants to do. Uh, and, that is not really the right thing to do because then people feel like, well, why am I going to put my head above the parapet? I'm going to end up with those crappy things that no one else wants to do. Or, I'm fearful that I'm now locked into this business because they've paid me too much money. I can't go elsewhere. Or, no one else can do this job. And I feel like if I leave, I'm letting people down. Employees don't want golden handcuffs. What they want to know is that as leaders, as business owners, we see their potential, that we're willing to invest in their growth, that we care about their career and them as individuals and not just about the business goals. And in my experience, when leaders can show that kind of long-term commitment, employees do respond with loyalty, even if they eventually leave. Their retention does not mean forever. Sometimes it just means giving someone a really great chapter in their career, even if the whole book is not your business. So, how do you actually do this? So, here are some practical strategies. The first is we want to invest early. So, we don't want to wait until someone threatens to leave or until they get an offer from a headhunter. We need to be on the front foot, actually offering development from the start. And the way that we do that is by making sure that we're asking about career goals. Sometimes that's as early as during the onboarding process. We make sure that we're revisiting those goals during our performance check-ins, which are at least quarterly. We're offering people opportunities to stretch. So new projects, cross-functional work, internal mentorships, taking ownership while someone else is on leave. There's lots of opportunities. The second is to create development first roles. So what I mean by that is that even if you don't have career ladders, there's really no promotion path because of the size of your business. You can still look at, can we rotate some responsibilities? Can we assign some strategic initiatives? Can we provide access to external training or shadowing? Because this shows that we value people's growth, even in small businesses. Number three is stay transparent. So we want to talk openly about limitations. So if we know that there's no X role in this business probably for the next 1, 2, or 3 years, then we should just say that. But let's plan together. How do we get you to that role, even if it's somewhere else? And hopefully it's not for a few years, but I want to help you and we're going to do this together. So this builds trust, and ironically, that honesty can extend the retention. Number four, exit well. So when the time comes, we want to celebrate their contribution. We want to ask for their feedback and we want to stay in touch. So great offboarding means that you get these long-term employer brand advocates. So they might refer some other people into the business, or they might even return at a later stage and become one of those boomerang employees if we have a role available for them that suits them in that career stage at that point. So if you're facing the possibility of someone great leaving, then maybe start to reframe and think, well, perhaps it's not a failure, but maybe it's a sign that we did everything right if they've been here for a number of years. And think about, did we give them purpose? Did we help them grow? Did we enable them to really seek out their career goals? Because that is still a great legacy to have, even if it's not within our business. And at Amplify HR, we help small and medium-sized businesses build people strategies that actually work based on trust, transparency, and long-term impact. So if you want help designing retention strategies that are about value and not just about salary, then book a free discovery call with us. The link is in the show notes. And if you've received value from this episode, I'd love it if you could leave a rating or a review over at Apple Podcasts or Spotify so someone else can also find the episodes to help with their business. Episodes are released on Mondays, so click subscribe and you'll be notified of when that's available. Thanks so much for joining me. If you have any questions, feedback, or ideas for future episodes, head on over to amplifyhr.com.au or connect with me on LinkedIn and we can start a conversation.